everyone, Lee Pacchia here, and you're watching The Business of Law, the only web TV show focusing on the challenges and the opportunities facing the legal profession. We have a really fantastic show lined up for you today. We have Amanda Brady. She is the global practice leader for the law firm management practice at Major Lindsey Africa, the legal recruiter. We are going to be talking about BigLaw's C-suite today. I'm so excited to have you in studio. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, easy question to start off, I guess, or a round question to start off. How would you characterize the market for C-suite talent at law firms today?
Changing. Growing in some respects, but growing in the depth and expertise required to hold those roles, whereas in the past they were more functional. They would take directions, if you will, from typically partner committees who were responsible for various things at the firm, whether it was marketing or technology or something like that. Now these roles are expected to be truly experts in whatever their profession is and contribute likewise.
So is there a bright line comparison that can be made here to say that as BigLaw continues to corporatize, the C-suite is just going to grow in terms of headcount?
I think, again, expertise. A headcount at some level, because there are some roles that are being added to the C-suite that I think are going to be important for BigLaw as they grow. Really focused on strategy, and I don't know where the term will come out in the end, but everything around pricing and project management and practice management, because firms have to get a better handle on how they practice law, the behind the scenes, how things happen, how efficient they are, because the clients are pushing that on them right on the other side, on the pricing side, or they're asking for fixed fees, and so there has to be a better handle on the details of the operations, and there are experts who can do that and help the lawyers do that when the lawyers are willing to accept that help.
Are you finding there's an adequate pool of talent to meet those needs as they're arising? The pool of talent is there, but it extends outside of legal. So if we were only looking within the current legal community, the answer would be no, absolutely not. Fortunately. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I can see it going both ways.
Well, I think it's really just a result of the history of how law firms used to run and how they run now and how they have to run and become more efficient. So I don't want to fault the chiefs of the past in these law firms. They were doing the job that was expected of them. They were expense managers. I mean, that's really what a COO or an executive director was in the early days in most firms. But that's not the case anymore. Now they're expected to be truly a business manager. So I think that the pool of talent, they're necessarily having to pull from outside of legal, most of the time going to other professional services because the cultural shift is so different from a corporate environment. Sometimes people from corporate can make the shift, and there are benefits to having someone with a corporate background in some of these roles, but it's very hard for them to make the transition culturally to the way law firms operate.
So when you're talking to stakeholders, partners at large law firms about the changes that need to be made, how would you characterize their attitudes? Is this something that people are jumping into head first, or is there a general reluctance and hesitancy to build out the C-suite? How is this approached?
To some of them, really amazingly, and some AmLaw 100 and higher up the list just because they make a lot of money, firms are still somewhat hesitant to have true business managers in there. The lawyers still want to run the business. But there are others where that's really not the case at all. I mean, there are some really progressive managing partners and chairs and practice leaders. It tends to be, and this is a generalization, but it tends to be a generational thing. So the firms that have the younger leadership teams in their 40s or 50s, these are the people who got tired of being the second in command and just having to do what they were told. And they just generationally had different ideas about how to operate these firms. And their clients were the ones who were saying, we need to do something different. So that's not 100% true. There are certainly some more senior, and I can think of two off the top of my head, senior in their early 60s law firm leaders who, these two in particular, finally got their chance to do something at this firm, and they are. So it just, I don't know, depends.
Yeah, we have people that come on this show and they talk about stratification in the AmLaw 200. Firms like Cravath or Skadden are going to continue to do what they've done for a long period of time. And there's other firms like DLA and Denton's, Baker McKenzie, they're going to continue growing their global footprint and going after all the money centers in the world and having a presence there. And then there's, as Bruce McEwen put it, the hollow middle, the firms that are of reasonable size and have been around for a long time, but don't really specialize in anything, and they aren't really in the race to become the largest firm, on the block. Do you see that stratification process playing out in your day-to-day? That is to say, the different firms that are in different positions in the AmLaw 200, do they have different approaches to these issues?
Absolutely. Though that middle group that you're talking about, they're successful. They several hundred lawyers typically. They've gotten by. They're making more money than they ever thought they would make. So it's really hard for them sometimes to think about doing something different. They don't want to be a DLA. They don't want to be a Denton's. They like what they have, and they're really trying very hard to hold on to it. And some of them might be successful for a while. The concern is that as the younger generation comes up, they're not turning over their client relationships to the next generation. So they're going to lose them. So there's a real concern that group will go away. You can't keep doing the same thing, but they keep trying to do the same thing because most of them are relatively close to retirement within 10 years. They're just really focused on the more immediate future as opposed to focusing on leaving a legacy, which is where law firms started. They started out saying, we want to build something that, outlast us.
Much easier to give the money to a grandkid than the incoming CMO.
Yeah, exactly, right.
That brings up my next point. What are you seeing in terms of compensation? Has it standardized, or is there still a wide degree of variance out there?
There's a lot of variation from firm to firm and from level of firm, but at some level there's some standards. So I'll give just a few general examples. For chief operating officers and executive directors, business people who are expected to contribute to the strategy discussion and really think about the business. As a general statement, those folks will make your average partner income. The reason being is they're expected to contribute at least as much to the success of the firm as your average partner. So that's where they try, as a general statement, try to ballpark those compensations. Chief marketing officers / chief business development officers, which is really the transition that has been happening, a lot of them are very highly paid. They have to influence a lot of people, i.e. partners, to do things often very differently than they used to.
So what's highly paid in this universe?
It will range in the AmLaw, we'll just say the AmLaw 100. It's going to range 500 up.
Final question for you here. Candidate walks in the door, you're looking to place them in a sweet position somewhere in the BigLaw universe. Would you rather they have a JD or an MBA?
I would rather they have an MBA for most positions.
Why is that?
Because they're business people, and JDs, notwithstanding all the JDs in the room,
ouch.
I don't always think like business people.
That's true.
And they're risk averse. Business people have to, and are trained to deal with risk. And these law firms really can't move forward unless they adequately deal with risk. The reason why they didn't change so much for a long time, and the reason why a lot of them still are struggling with change, is they're afraid of what might happen differently, and I can't control it. You don't know the answer.
Risk averse by nature.
They are by DNA. And so a business, an MBA type is going to view things differently. There are a few roles where I think the JD really is very helpful, training and development in particular, and there are a lot of people who are moving away from practice and into training and development. And that's, I think, where a JD can really come in handy.
Amanda, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for coming by and talking to us, and please come back and talk to us soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
That's Amanda Brady from Major Lindsey Africa. If you'd like to see more of the stuff we're working on, be sure to go check us out online. You can find us at mimesiswebtv.com. You can also find us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thanks for watching.